Another lockdown streak, another day of sun seeked. Is it Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday? Naming the week seems antique. When the last dance began, most of us were indoor. Now we got the itch to ball, but all we got time for is to snore. But not on the Ball is Bay NBA podcast, your favorite NBA podcast in an Indian accent. We are back with renewed vigor and bandwidth of all our favorite years in the basketball world. Of course, that means if you don't listen to us, we got less than absolute love for you. But hey, if you aren't listening, then you don't know what you're missing, anyways. This week, apparently, all the NBA wants to do is extol the already extolled and talk about contracts that were signed in 91. Speaking of 91, I've got with me, as always, someone who at one point of time was 91 kilos, someone who at some point in his life was really quick and nimble, and who at all points in his life has had an Indian name. Vineet Devaya. Vineet, welcome back. Not that you ever left us, but the last time we saw each other, we were dancing on Insta Live for likes and views.
Oh, that is true. That is true. We were dancing for Insta likes and views. We should do that some other time.
Some other time when we can dance.
Some other time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean,
I'm
was
good.
I
How are
right
you
that at
doing?
some point in time you were 91 kilos? Is that a real fact?
Yeah,
or
at
did I
some
just
point of
make
time,
something
yeah.
up?
At some point of time, yes.
Some point in time you were 91 kilos.
Yes.
Okay.
My current weight is unknown, though.
Unknown. That's a
Unknown.
good number. That's
Yeah.
good. All right. Okay. Vineet, my eyes tell me there is a special guest on the spot.
There is a very,
Is
very
that
special
true?
guest. Very special.
Very, very special guest. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the introduction myself.
Yes, please go
Because I've
ahead.
written something, so obviously, yes. Okay,
Yes.
Today on the pod, we've got with us none other than the Hoop of Hoopdarshan Podcast, the numbers king, and someone who might have already received a notification on LinkedIn saying Ashwin Gopinath has viewed your profile. Kaushik Lakshman, welcome to the pod, Kaushik. Absolute pleasure to have you with us.
Hey, lovely to be here as well.
Okay. Have you always had this very calm, collected thing? Because whenever I've heard the Hoopdarshan podcast, it's like you are this extremely in control guy, and Karan is like, Karan is like the energy guy. Is that how you've always been?
You gotta have a zag for every zig. So I'm just gonna let Karan. He has a massive personality. I'm just gonna let him be him and add the noise wherever.
I wish somebody on this podcast had that opinion. But that's
This pod is only zigs and zagzags.
zing,
No-
zing, just zing. Okay, Vineet, like you were mentioning, like Kaushik is an ex batchmate. It's not a batchmate.
No,
what
his
mate
batch,
is that? College mate.
college mate, yeah.
College mate.
Yeah.
College mate of yours from the famed NIT Suratkal days.
Yes. So he used to be my junior, and I think we discussed about Kaushik in the podcast with Karan. And I mean, I just remember him being a part of the team and seeing him play. I think you were in the batch with Alok, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Alok was kind of like the best player of his batch.
Yeah.
Who played for chemical engineering, which is the same branch as me. So Alok was the young kid in our chemical engineering team who, I mean, the only thing I can remember was there was this game between mechanical, which was, I think, the best team in basketball, and chemical.
At least when you were around, yeah.
Sorry? Yeah, when we were there.
When
yeah.
you were around, yeah.
Yeah, so they were the best team, and then chemical was probably the worst team. And but we had Alok at that year, so he came in, and so the team was decent enough where we were actually leading for the longest period. And Hardeep, who was probably like the best player in the school in the college, he was in mechanical, and we were leading, I think, by like 7 or 8 points. And then I think for some weird reason, Alok decided to like be the man, and he just started like, being Kobe. And I was just like, we are winning, don't be Kobe. So that's the only basketball thing I remember with their batch. Cause I think in final year, we kind of stopped playing. We were busy,
People don't necessarily remember final year for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. So, so I think, it's good to have him here, and, I wish we could have played more basketball so that we could have been a little bit more, talk about that a little bit more, and that's it. I'm very happy to see him.
Yeah, man, it's always great to talk to somebody else who went to the went to the glorious University of NIT Surathkal, where everybody is sold the concept of a beach next to your uni, but you go there on day one and you go there on the day before you leave uni. That's it.
That's true.
Nobody
That's
else goes
true.
to the beach otherwise.
With the only university in the world or
Okay.
something like that has a beach of its
Something
own.
like that, yeah.
Something like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has a beach of its own.
Yeah, we have a beach
Yeah.
of our own.
Um,
What? How's that allowed? Okay.
But it's not as fancy as you. It's not like a San Diego beach.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
not.
it is a rather crappy beach, very dangerous. There's like usually 1 or 2 deaths a year in that beach, so
Yeah.
so nothing to really boast about.
Well, but still, like our people in my college used to die of alcohol poisoning and student politics. So maybe this is a better way to die. Who knows? Whoever knows. Anyway, we'll come back to our main point. We'll come back to the podcast. Of course, we'll talk about Kaushik and his love of hoops and his involvement with hoops through the episode. But I'm sure you guys must have checked out The Last Dance, right? The Netflix documentary about the last year of Michael Jordan's actual career. Like, we're gonna ignore the Wizards' career, but the
What?
final year.
That never happened.
Oh, okay. Yes, that never happened. So yes, the Wizards' career which never happened. But the last year, 97-98, which ends with the shot holding the gooseneck that season. I mean, Kaushik, what were your first? I mean, did you have some sort of thinking that this is what it might be, or some storyline that you might have wanted to check out, or you were like, whatever they show, I'm gonna see it.
Yeah, probably more of the latter than anything else. I think it's one of those stories where like I was probably I probably caught like maybe only the last year of Jordan's playing career from when I kind of got hooked onto basketball. So not like too many memories. Everything I've heard of and I've seen is just documentaries and like YouTube clips and articles and books and stuff like that. So it was really cool to sort of see the whole story in video form some way or another. I guess it is another documentary after all, but at least it's like it's a 10-part documentary. It's not squeezed into like 60 minutes. There's multiple storylines that are explored, and if the first 2 episodes are anything to go by, there's so many different angles, right? Like I didn't know that all the stories about Scottie Pippen being underpaid the way he was, and all of the drama that he had with the front office, and Jordan being like a kid who lost to his elder brother in backyard basketball and stuff like that. It's just awesome. And I think my favorite part about it is that like this documentary has something for everybody. For people who grew up watching Jordan, it's like an amazing trip down memory lane. For people for probably like me, who knew that this guy was the GOAT, but didn't catch most of his playing career, and like I said, his Wizards career, like it didn't happen. So he quite literally saw only maybe 1 season at most. It's great for us to sort of relive all of that. And then completely on the other end of the spectrum, there's kids who grew up only in like the LeBron era, or maybe like a Kobe era and then the LeBron era. So for them to actually see that, oh, this is the guy that our idols were always sort of compared against, I think it's really cool. So I thoroughly enjoyed the first 2 episodes, and I can't wait for the next 8.
Yes, so like Kaushik was saying, the new generation which has grew up on Kobe, LeBron, Durant, Curry, those people.
Tim Duncan.
Like I'm sure. Tim Duncan. No, nobody has grown up on Tim Duncan. No. Please, that is your one generation in you, that you. Okay. I mean, people don't appreciate Tim Duncan, man. Let's just leave it at that.
Hey,
okay,
man.
Anyway.
No, that's not true.
That is true. But anyway, let's go on. So what I was saying is, from my thinking, whatever the thinking was there, is that these people have only heard. Now, when they hear a lot of things, they're like, there must be some bias, that what is that, in statistics they call it what, confirmation bias or recency bias or whatever the bias is for those people, right? Like for the old heads, they're like, I never saw anyone play like Jordan. And the new players, are automatically more, they are more, what is the word, athletic because human evolution. They're more athletic. They are capable of doing more. The game is more faster. The game is more spaced. If you can't defend the 3, you can't play, blah, 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 blah. So I think for them, this might just be like such a savage, because they show Jordan as a real savage. The way he insults their GM. Like, oh, are these the pills that you take to keep yourself short? I'm like, my God. Like in this PC world, like those kind of things, imagine if they came out like, I don't know what people would have done. So somewhere I think it's going to be obviously I know that it's going to be an amazing series because I love to watch anything basketball, and plus this is like how does a team go so deep every year again and again, 3 years in the beginning and then they take a break, come back 3 years again. For Vineet, what was the like something very interesting that you saw in this special?
In this special, in the first two episodes,
Yeah, in the first
I think I echo whatever sort of Kaushik said about the three generations that kind of grew up watching basketball. Because I think post Jordan, there was maybe like a couple of years of Magic and Kareem and Larry Bird, but it was mostly US based. I think post Jordan was when it kind of really became international. So I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me the most interesting part was the whole Scottie Pippen thing. Like I always felt Scottie was like a very integral part of the team, and it was kind of sad to see that part of the business side. I feel like there had to be something Jordan could have done or something of that sort. So that was my most like sad takeaway from the whole series was that like Scottie kind of got shafted. But otherwise, I think everything else was. I mean, there's nothing about Michael Jordan that we don't know. I think that was in the series. I think we knew. I mean, for real basketball fans, like we knew everything about most of the stuff that was talked about. So I think that stuff we already knew. But I didn't realize that Scottie didn't play because of contract issues. I thought he had a genuine injury and that's why he couldn't play in the last year. So that was a little sad to know that, for somebody to have played for, I think like 7 or 8 years.
10, 11 years. 11 years. I think he got drafted in 87 or something, right?
Oh, okay.
If I'm not wrong.
Okay. And then, go through those 2 years when Jordan was not there, be faithful to the franchise, try to help them win. And then to have to go through that experience, I think I felt bad for him. So that was my only, the thing that I didn't.
Well, you don't have to feel bad. I think I read in some tweet that he made more money throughout the career than Scottie.
Yeah. I mean,
Kaushik, do you feel bad for Scottie Pippen, or do you think, once you sign a contract, then you're obligated to, play it out? How is it in your head?
I think I have sort of mixed feelings about it. He makes it quite clear that he chose that kind of a contract, even though people kind of advised him against it primarily because of his upbringing and stuff like that. He wanted that security, and this was a thing back in the day where like contracts were bigger than it is right now. Right now you have like a LeBron or a Kevin Durant who go season after season because there's just so much money in the game right now. Wasn't necessarily the case, and he needed to sort of take care of his family and all of that. So from what I read about the contract also was that it was kind of front loaded, and they used to be able to do that back in the day where like he got paid significantly more in the first 2 or 3 years and then probably lesser later on. So like that kind of he kind of knew what he was getting into, but at the same time, like the Bulls could also have theoretically renegotiated and they didn't. So that's where I think he got shafted a little bit, not necessarily just the whole contract in itself. And yeah, like
I agree. I mean,
right. Like, he got paid eventually, and eventually, like over the course of his career, through NBA salaries, he probably made more money than Jordan did. But like that's not really what it was about. Mostly, it was mostly about like I guess feeling valued, and he didn't get that sort of respect from the.
And I mean, my thing was that he was clearly unhappy. Like I agree that if you sign a contract and all that, so when a person who's so integral to your team is saying, I'm clearly unhappy about the situation in the last year of my contract, can you help me out? I just felt like the Bulls organization could have done something at that point. And that's my thing. I'm not saying that, he made a bad decision or the decision he made 8 years back was right or wrong, but when you clearly know one of the most important players is not happy, you as an organization do something to fix it.
Yeah, especially because like at that time NBA salaries you could renegotiate. Like right now you sign a deal, that's it. You got to play it out. And the fact that they didn't, knowing fully well how important Scottie Pippen is to that team, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 18 million for 7 years just sounds so ridiculous when you hear it today.
Timofey
I don't
Mozgov
know.
made that kind of money in one season.
Yeah, the Lakers paid him. Was it the Lakers who paid him, or was it the Nuggets? I
I think
think it was the
Sadly,
Lakers.
yes, it was the Lakers.
The Lakers. Yo, Kaushik, you're a Lakers fan, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. I guess like in today's day and age, like I'm more a fan of I guess the league than anything else. But I will definitely be happier if the Lakers win and sadder if
Okay.
the Lakers lose.
was
So
this fan of a league business.
it's just like I actually don't care who wins or loses. Maybe I care a little bit more if the Lakers win.
It's called getting old. That's what it's called, Kaushik.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I was not the impressionable 12-year-old kid that I was when I first got into
Now,
watching
now
the
you know it's all a business. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, let's talk a little bit about your hoop career, or your love for hoops. So when did it start? Like, when did you start playing basketball, and how did it end up with you being like the host of India's biggest basketball podcast? Like, how does that trip happen?
First of all, very kind of you to say that about Hoopdarshan. I'm not entirely sure if that's true.
Well, it's more or less true.
I mean, there are
so-
two podcasts. So one has to be bigger than the other, and we believe that.
I will claim that very selfishly. Cool. So I got into basketball as a sport, I would say, when I was maybe 11 or 12 years old. I transferred to a school which was like quite big into basketball, especially playing more so than watching. We probably had like one of the better school teams in Bangalore, and we had a court with a fiberglass board, which was not common back in that day.
Whoa.
And like the people who played basketball were like stars in the school, and like you were popular, and you kind of got the attention of the girls and stuff like that. So like all the things that motivate a 7th standard, 8th standard kid. So that's when I kind of got into the sport. I wasn't necessarily very good back then, but I kind of slowly.
Wait, which school were you in?
I was in a school called Vidyaniketan in Hebbal.
Vidyanika. Okay.
Sorry. No, that's all right. So what I think helped me was like I am like a year younger than most of my other classmates, so I kind of ended up playing things like under 13 and under 16 with the junior batch. So being like the bigger kid and like older kid, that kind of helped a little bit. So that's my playing beginnings. And then obviously, like Vineet said, we kind of went to the same college, and I played for the college team for 4 years as well. Not again, like there was definitely better players than me in the whole team, but it's just I was just very passionate about the sport. I was always sort of.
But you enjoyed playing, right? Like, because
Absolutely.
for people who are not as good as, like, I was not very good, but I loved being on the court, loved the jumping around, trying to get the ball, pass it out, even if I didn't know the fundamental movements of foot movements and all that. It's just so it must be something similar with you. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Love being part of the team. Just I think it's one of those like team games where each of the 5 players on the court potentially can feel as important as the other, and like you make amazing friendships on the basketball team. And I think like in fact this Saturday we have a lot of probably not your batch we need, but everybody Hardeep batch and below, we have like the Zoom call set up to have a little bit of a NITK basketball reunion and stuff like that. So
Vinny didn't get that invite though.
So yeah, like I said, it's probably like Hardeep's batch and below, so that must be the reason. Yeah, some of my like really good friends through school and college have all been through basketball. So very, very integral part of my life, I suppose. And then just being a fan of the game, I used to go and watch a lot of like club games in Bangalore and like state games and nationals and stuff like that when they were there. So I just started to have an interest in the sport in the country. So every time there was like a senior nationals or something like that, I'd go watch. I'd see the players from like Punjab and Tamil Nadu and Kerala and all these players. Like they're significantly better than any sort of basketball programs in Karnataka. So I just became a fan of the game, followed it a little bit here and there. And then Karan and I became friends on Twitter, and we just figured out that like maybe we care a little bit about Indian basketball more than normal people do. So why don't we just like make a podcast about it? And I think we started about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Yesterday we recorded the 91st episode that we've done, which is which is pretty amazing. Like for something we started as a hobby, we don't make money out of it. In fact, like we spend money to make it. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to know that like there are people who can be very passionate about such niche, weird things like Indian basketball. And it's been a real fun experience. I've had a chance to speak to some amazing people, really interesting people, amazing stories. And that's pretty much what basketball is for me. Like it's part of life, and it gives you lots of other things.
Absolutely. Spoken like a true basketball lover. So you just met Karan on Twitter, and then like Hoopdarshan was born, just like that.
No. We used to chat with each other about a lot of things, and he was obviously a journalist at that time. He used to work for the BFI, and he used to write obviously his Hoopistani blog and stuff like that.
Wait, Karan used to work for BFI?
Yeah, for a couple of years. He was covering
wow.
Indian basketball all over the country, jumping on trains from Delhi to wherever senior nationals was held. And he knows all of these players, like literally all the stars like Amjot, Vishesh, all of these guys. Like he's filled up visa forms for them and stuff like that. So he's like the godfather of Indian basketball. So it's we used to just have conversations about like who's the next big sort of player, and we chat about that. And I think it also helped that we used to follow the same football club as well. Both of us are big Real Madrid fans,
Madrid fans.
Used to be. I don't really have interest in soccer anymore.
Are you a fan of the football league now? Is that what it is? No, you said you're not a Real Madrid fan, right?
No. Look, so I kind of stopped following football for a lot of different reasons. Primarily because when I moved here to Australia, like the time zone is just so crap. All the games are at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I'm too old to wake up to watch all of that.
Makes sense.
And I think like I kind of fell out of love with this.
And don't call yourself too old. Like we're all like couple of years within each other. Like
I'm the oldest.
Saying old. I'm gonna start feeling bad then. I have to edit all these parts out. Anyway.
No, I was just saying I think it helped that we were both Madrid fans as well, so we could have conversations about two sports. And we just decided to like let's do a podcast, and then we kind of met each other in Delhi once as well. It was good. He's an awesome guy. He has lots and lots of amazing connections that makes for great episodes, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, one very interesting thing, like what you guys do on Hoopdarshan is, what are the episode numbers? You make up something about the jersey number of that. So I think we are on episode 56 or something like that. So is there any fun 56 jersey number that you might have hidden away in your cranium? Or am I putting you on the spot right here?
Maybe. Normally I look up basketball reference and I find if there's any interesting player, then we talk about them. The funny thing was yesterday, the episode that we recorded, which should be out in a couple of days, was episode number 91, which is Dennis Rodman's number, and we spoke about the last dance. So it's all very it works itself out that way.
Dennis Rodman also made a lot less money than Michael Jordan. Like he made Scottie Pippen numbers, but I don't see you defending him. Huh?
Dennis Rodman made more money than Scottie Pippen.
He made just a tiny bit more than Scottie Pippen.
Double the amount, man. Come on.
No, really?
Yeah.
We'll have to check those numbers because fake news is all over the media.
I put a photo up on the group.
You think it was double that money? I thought it was all in the 2 point something range.
No, Dennis Rodman was like 4.8 or something like that.
No, okay. We'll have to check that out. Audience, we'll check that out. Okay, anyway, moving on for the realm of realism to the haze of the hypothetical. Social media recently threw up talk of a couple of trades that were set to go down before the triggers went cold. So I thought to myself, where could I go and discuss these trades and not get my entire family insulted? And that's how we are here. I heard about this trade which was supposed to happen, which would have sent James Harden of OKC straight exchange to Klay Thompson of Golden State Warriors. Now, I know Klay is a big favorite of Vinny Devaya, so I'm not going to ask him the question first. But Kaushik, can you imagine a trade like that, and what do you think the implications for that would have been for the league?
Oh boy, that's really, really interesting because James Harden obviously like he's one of the best like individual players in the game, and he can create, he can score, he can finish at the rim, he can shoot threes, he hits free throws at a ridiculous rate. He can also play make in the last few years of his career. I think like he's probably a better number one option than Clay can ever be, even at his best.
Mm-hmm.
But what that team needs is someone like Clay. I don't know if like Steph can necessarily work with James Harden. I think they're two ball dominant guys, and like if you could create the perfect player to play along with Steph, you couldn't get too much better than Clay, I think.
Anyone better than Clay?
Yeah, so like he's amazing on the defensive end. He does not need to dribble to shoot, which is an incredible skill. I can't remember what the exact number was, but he shot like 8 or 9 threes with like 5 dribbles or something like that.
5 dribbles,
in a
3
half
dribbles.
once. Yeah, something like that, something ridiculous like that. So I think individually James Harden is a better player than Klay Thompson, but that team needs Klay more than anything else. And like the hand in glove combination that Steph and Klay are, I don't think it could have ever happened the other way. And I'm
what do you
fairly
think
sure,
the scenario would have been for the OKC? Like OKC getting an extremely unselfish, defensive minded. Like imagine it's a Roberson but someone who can shoot like lights out. Like, don't you think that would have been crazy for OKC to get?
I don't think Clay has ever been referred to as Roberson who can shoot before, which is hilarious. But yeah, I guess when you think about it that way, he would have been on a team with Westbrook and Durant, and yeah, maybe that team would have been better than Steph and Clay. I'm not sure. Yeah, look, obviously, like he would have been amazing on that team, but I think personally, like Durant and Westbrook, they got about as good as they can get, and I don't think having Clay there would have made. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think the styles particularly mesh too well. What about you?
I mean, I think OKC definitely wins that trade for me. Getting an unselfish shooter, like someone who does not need to even have space. He just needs to get in place. And but then I think about, maybe the Scottie Brooks offense wasn't meant for someone like that. Maybe it had to have like slashers and attackers and people who were
Scottie Brooks had an offense?
Great. Yes, he did. Give the ball to Durant, give the ball to Westbrook. Alternate between the two.
I think those were his two plays. Give the ball to Durant.
Do the Westbrook play, which was actually a trick play, which meant give the ball to Durant. And do the Durant play, which meant give the ball to Westbrook. Those were his two plays.
Yeah, so
got caught out pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, I feel you can always take a chance with, having Klay Thompson, Westbrook, and Durant. Like at the end of the day, the NBA is won by people, who have the stars in the team, like people who can score. So I feel OKC would have definitely won that trade, and I'm a little sad that it didn't happen. But I'm going to let Vineet go take a crack at this. Vineet, Klay Thompson, OKC, and James Harden to Golden State Warriors. What are your feels on that? As a GM, would you pull the trigger on that trade?
A GM of what? Of who?
That's GM of I don't know, man. GM of Golden State Warriors.
I mean, GM of Golden State Warriors, no. GM of OKC, yes. Yeah, so I think like Clay would have been a better fit for both Russell and Durant, and I think James would not have been such a great fit for Steph Curry. So I think OKC would have probably won a couple of championships easily. I think because yeah, I think at that point there was really like maybe the LeBron team was good and the Spurs were good, but there was really no like. I mean, goes back to my Clay love. Is like I just feel like the Golden State Warriors are the Golden State Warriors because of Clay. It's just
we have to remember at that time the trade that was proposed was Klay Thompson for Kevin Love. So at that time people rated Kevin Love more than Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't imagine that scenario anytime in the last.
Well, I think the more important part was Kevin Love was very, very, highly rated at that point. Like he was probably like a
Absolutely.
top, like he was a 2020 guy, just beast in Minnesota. So I don't think Clay was rated less. I think Kevin was overrated at that point. And Clay was rated well enough where they didn't pull the trigger, right? Like. It wasn't like, if if Clay wasn't that highly rated, they would have definitely taken Kevin Love, because I think at that point with Ricky Rubio and Kevin Love, that team, everybody thought Kevin Love was this phenomenal player, who I think he was averaging 2020, or was it 2010? I don't know what it was. But
I think he had 2020 average for a month, or he had like some 20 games of 2020 in the season, or some absolutely crazy numbers.
Some crazy ass numbers, right?
In Minnesota though, but still.
Right. Yeah. And so even having that, they didn't pull the trigger on Clay and Kevin. So it just shows that how important Clay was for that offense. Because I think if you replace Steph, there's no you could potentially replace Steph with like a Damian Lillard kind of guy, but I don't think there is a replacement for Clay, in my opinion. I don't think there is a player in the league right now that can do the things that Klay Thompson can do as efficiently as he can do while being a team player. I don't see any other player like him. So I think if OKC would have gotten Klay Thompson, they would have probably been a championship contender easily. I think Golden State would have gone down the route of like two big superstars not able to mesh with each other. James Harden was horrible at defense.
He's not horrible at defense.
He is.
He's not as good as Clay. He's not horrible at defense. You should read the latest advanced metrics. Which is something we will get to later.
Most of defense is very eye test than like advanced metrics, in my opinion.
Wrong opinion. Numbers matter.
Numbers matter, but defense, you can see a person like defending or not defending.
I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know. I think the philosophy of you can score, we'll score more is probably what drives the league now. But except in the close situation where you're like, okay, now enough scoring, now we need to stop. I don't know. I'm not saying defense is underrated, but most people are like, let me save my energy for offense, which is understandable. When you get your rebounds, I think that's. I mean, for me at least, whenever I play pickup, I'm like, if you can get the rebound, then defense and all. Sometimes you just can't stop people, so there's no point expending so much energy that you can't run back up the court, right? Like you wasted all your energy on one side. I guess it's just a matter of opinion, but yeah. We need speaking of numbers, which is so surprising that we spoke of numbers. I think there are some special questions that you wanted to ask our special guest.
Oh yes, so right.
Which rhymes with smetting. No.
Yes, so I think a lot of people who listen to our podcast do not bet on the NBA, and I was sucked into this whole NBA betting scene this year because a friend of mine decided to put some money into the betting scene and wanted my expert opinions. And we made
it's like, who is going to win, Golden State Warriors or Minnesota Timberwolves?
Yes.
And it's like, in my expert opinion.
In my expert opinion, I think Minnesota Timberwolves. Anyway, so I think Kaushik works for a betting company, or I don't know, is it a betting company? I don't know. You said there's a difference between a bet maker and some. So Kaushik, can you give us our listeners like a more background about what a company does? How does betting work, and some like tricks and tips of the trade for us to like make some
tips and tricks
money.
You give us in the end. Like you first give us some idea of what exactly it is that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tips and tricks you can give us on the side, off record. Okay, all right.
No, I'm happy to do it on record. Everybody should be.
No, we are not happy on that. Okay.
Cool. So essentially, what I was trying to explain when this sort of topic first came up was, I do work for a betting company, but it's not a bookmaker or a betting company in the traditional sense. So most, like 95% of anyone who calls themselves a betting company is a house that creates odds for markets. So this hypothetical example of Golden State versus Minnesota, they have people crunching the numbers. They have someone saying that Golden State should be rated at a particular price, Minnesota should be rated at a particular price, and those are the odds that you and I as a customer have to bet against that house. So not too different from like a casino and stuff like that. They've got odds for each outcome, and they've got a margin built into that product, and blah blah blah. So that's most betting companies in the world. The company that I work for is something called a betting exchange. Betting exchange is essentially there's no house. Customers bet against each other. They set their own odds. If things match, then customers get matched against each other, and we just facilitate that bet. So in a way, we're like the Ubers and Airbnbs of the world. So in a way that Uber doesn't actually own a taxi or operate a taxi, but they're still a taxi company. We don't necessarily take a bet, but we're a betting company. That's the fundamental understanding of it. So the difference is that an ideal customer for the first kind of betting companies that I spoke about is someone who loses to that betting company as often as possible, as much as possible. For us, because we make money from commission from winning bets, we want customers to win as much as possible. So it's a balance between an optimal type of customers. From a customer experience point of view, the first type, the bookmaker sort of companies that I described are, there's more sort of, it's on the entertainment spectrum, whereas my company is more on like more professional punters and professional bettors, gamblers, people who build like trading models and stuff like that. They tend to operate on that. It's very similar to, I guess, how the stock exchange works conceptually, but it's just on like sporting events and racing events. So for like an average customer, they'll have a lot more entertainment related products, like who's going to score the first basket and stuff like that. That'll never exist on our platform, because like you need people to on both sides of the equation to create odds for it.
Okay, so only if I make a bet saying I think Wiggins will score the first basket and Vineet saying Wiggins will not score the first basket, then you'll match us. Is that something like that? Is it a zero-sum game?
Yeah, it is a zero-sum game, except there's like a small commission that whoever wins between.
So it's like that Cloud 91 or whatever in India, right? Cloud? No. What's the
Dream 91?
Dream 91.
No.
Dream 11.
Dream 11.
Dream 11 is fantasy sports. So it's
that's already there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
No, I'm saying fantasy sports is already something which is there, right?
Yeah. So fantasy sports exists in India because legally there's no betting, even though there's so much that goes on. It's just betting disguised as another product called fantasy sports.
So do you get to see like, so can you bet into your own product, like, because you are in charge of kind of the data side of it, right? So you probably have a master list of all the people that make shitty bets, and you can just keep betting against them and make money, right?
No. So look, I think the success of a betting exchange is the fact that it's neutral. It doesn't really favor one party over another. So there's like pretty.
That's what Google says too, but.
But Google is not highly regulated like betting industries are.
Oh, okay.
So there are regulations that kind of stop us from seeing who's betting until like something finishes. So in hindsight, I know that this guy is putting dumb money into a particular match or a result.
Okay.
But there's no way for me to know it from before it.
Beforehand itself. Okay, got it.
But the company that I work for, it is one where like I can use my own platform because I'm not essentially taking my company's money. Whereas if you work for a bookmaker, more often than not, you're not allowed to bet on your own platform. Because if you win, you're essentially taking company money.
Okay. So what are the common, like, I would say, like, common mistakes people do with bets? Because I think
bet with their emotion, which you shouldn't.
They bet with what?
Bet with their emotion, which you should never do.
Are you saying sports is not emotion? Is what? Not objective? Is that what you're saying? I thought sports is objective, extremely objective.
Results are objective. Feelings are not.
Yes, absolutely. So a whole lot of people make money by, I guess, playing to that emotion, and it's a very fine line between doing that and sort of promoting irresponsible gambling behaviors. Again, I'm talking like a gambling regulator more than a company here. Yeah, I think the key mistakes people make is like they don't. They are driven too much by emotion. I think the most successful sort of betting people that I know and things that have sort of worked out for me personally as well is having a system, trying to make sure that I bet only when whatever system I'm building thinks that it's an intelligent bet. And way too many people don't follow. They're just like, oh shit, I've lost the last 5 bets. Maybe this bet it'll turn around, and then that's like dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the hot hand fallacy.
Exactly, and also like never bet on your own team, which is
what?
I don't have.
What? Why would you say that?
So because
Depends if your team, what your team is.
If you lose, you're sad because your team lost and your money is gone.
And money lost.
Interesting.
Man, he's just breaking lots of my preconceived notions in my head. I don't think I'll be able to bet again.
Okay. And do you by any chance like know who on your platform kind of makes, like, maybe not name wise, but in terms of like person X made like $1 million. Like, what's the biggest bet somebody has won either in a year or in a day? Like, is there like a record or something of that sort?
Yeah, there are some real obscene numbers. There are a lot of people whose primary living is making betting models, and like they're professional gamblers. That's their job.
Okay.
So yeah, there are some really obscene numbers. People who make like millions of dollars a year.
How much? Millions? Did you say millions?
Millions of dollars a year. Yeah.
Oh, millions of dollars a year. Okay.
Millions of dollars a year. Okay. I thought millions of dollars a bet. Okay, that's different.
$1 million bets happen too, but more in like the recreational space.
So if two people, if I put $1 million and Vineet puts $1 million, one of us is going to win $1 million, right? $1 million more.
Correct.
2 million. Yeah.
Minus and then 1 million is already my money. I'm saying winnings minus the commission. However that works out, right?
Yeah. That is if you're matching at like a bet that's both probabilities are equal. So like for a Golden State versus Minnesota game, you'll never be that equal amount. So it'll be like say 3-1 odds. If it's 3-1 odds.
Okay. So I'll win 2 times more. Okay.
Yeah, odds. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little confused on the odds and up and under. No, not up and under. What is that? What is that word? Under. Something. Over and under. Yeah. Up and unders.
So over under is basically like a type of markets that exist to eliminate that bias. So if you have like that, again, our example here, Golden State versus Minnesota, and if you think that Golden State is like a 70% chance of winning and Minnesota is 30%, what they do is if you want the match to be 50-50, you give Minnesota like a 8.5 point advantage. So the handicap line becomes like if the final score ends in such a way that Golden State wins by more than 8.5, then the odds are equal. So you get 2 times the amount that you put in.
Nice.
So that makes every match interesting, because otherwise, like if you just go purely.
So the exchange decides that whether that 8.5 is 8.5 or 7.5 or 6 or whatever it is, based on some model or something like that.
No, the exchange has like open market for literally every single thing.
Oh, so even for a 5 plus 5 advantage, there might be bets. There might plus 6 advantage, there might be bets. Is it like that?
But yeah, the odds will be different. People won't always get matched. So when you think about that Uber example, right? Like if you have a taxi driver who comes and tells you that I'll take you to the airport for 3 rupees, you'll definitely jump on it. But if he says I'll take it to you for 30,000, you won't go.
Okay.
So that's essentially like if the odds is value, you'll get matched on the other side.
And you decide whether it's 3 rupees or 30,000 rupees.
Yeah, the customer decides. So
customer decides.
If you
the customer offers a bet saying here's my offer. Oh, okay. So it's like taxi drivers taking each other.
Exactly.
Oh.
Scam, bro. just joking, Kaushik. Just joking.
But I think there's a bitter because he's lost a lot of money.
No, I actually
haven't.
I haven't actually.
But overall, he's got like $50 in his account, which is from there. So it's a good thing the NBA season has stopped. Otherwise, he would have lost a lot more money.
My daily rate of return was 20%. That was pretty good.
$10 per 20% is what?
$200. $200 every day. I would bet it $200 every day.
There is no way you were putting $1,000, Vineet.
200, my friend.
You're putting $200 every day.
Not my money. My friend was putting money. I was just telling him who's going to win.
So this is a like properly regulated market because everything is transparent and
Well, it's supposed to be, but there are obviously like there's lots of illegal operators as well. So
but not at betting exchange.
There are illegal betting exchanges too. So
what?
You remember how I told you about this? There's being commission. So we charge a certain amount of commission because of all of our that's the business model, right? You charge X amount of commission based on all the costs that you have to pay. So we have to pay the NBA for hosting their product. We have to pay like a racing body for hosting their horse racing.
You have to pay the NBA for hosting bets on their name.
Yeah. I mean, that's why NBA is like salivating at the prospect of opening up gambling in the US because every single bet taken, they get a cut of it. It's basically like TV rights. Like to show NBA, you have to pay them. Right? So it's the same thing with...
Which makes sense.
Well. So,
okay. This does not make any sense. What if I bet on an airplane landing at the same time as some other airplane? Will I have to pay money to the airplane? I mean, is that a bet that's possible?
No, so there's no regulating body for that. So I think I guess maybe you opened up an illegal betting idea.
I remember seeing this episode on Seinfeld where the people are betting that this plane will land earlier than that plane. I mean, of course, it's like just between two people, like it's an over-the-counter bet. But
yeah.
Okay. I had no idea you had to pay NBA for betting on their name. What the hell?
Yeah. So that's legal operators like us. We have like rules and regulations by which we are governed, and we have to do all of these things. There are plenty of
mind has been blown.
Illegal operators that don't need to pay this, so their commission rates are lesser. So for like the absolute like $1 million type customers, sometimes like we are too expensive, so they end up going to illegal.
Okay. Let's come back to this podcast because I've already in my head I've lost lots of money trying to imagine even betting. Because I used to do a little bit of day trading back in the day. And there was this particular number that I won't tell you, of which I lost all my savings, and I was like, okay, that's it. Never again can I even think about it because I thought with my emotions, and today I have learned you should not support your favorite team and you should not bet with emotions. So do lessons. Anyone listening to this, thinking of betting, please do not bet with your emotions and bet with other people's money like our co-host does. Yes.
And take a commission. Always take a commission.
Always take commission. Okay.
The best business is a commission-based business.
Okay. So you don't have the range. Okay. Anyway, let's come back to the pod. Let's come back to very serious questions. Again, a little bit more hypothetical, but since we were discussing it on our common group, the NBA Wallas, which we've shout out to the NBA Wallas.
Shout out to NBA Wallas.
We've referenced it more than fair amount of times. We might have to pay them also now, according to all these new rules that are in my head now. Okay. There was this big discussion between. I don't know who it was between, but there was this big talk about Magic Johnson or Larry Bird. I don't know whether it was who was a greater person or who, if roles were exchanged, who would be more successful, or who would you draft if you had the chance to do it. But let me put it to Kaushik this way. As a GM, you had the option, like you had Larry Bird on the board and you had Magic Johnson. What are you thinking before you draft one of them? Let's not go about who you would pick, but if you have Magic Johnson in your head, what are you thinking? Like what is the system that you're thinking of to draft Larry Bird or Magic Johnson?
I think for me, Magic, like the kind of game that he has, it's so transcendent in the way he changes how a team can operate, the speed at which he plays, the vision that he has. So for me, like it'll be theoretically easier to find pieces around Magic. Because like he controls the pace of the game so much, he controls the flow, and theoretically, when you have players like that, you don't necessarily need absolute studs in every other position. It ended up being that he had a lot of really amazing teammates, but just conceptually, when you think about it, when you have someone as good as he is, the shooting guard on that team need not be as good as say if you thought about drafting Larry Bird, he's obviously like excellent at his position, like one of the best small forwards ever, incredible shooter, definitely a better shooter than Magic, And like he can also create for himself, he can create for others, he can do all of that stuff. But I think you would need a more complete team around Larry, whereas you could work with worse pieces. So if I was thinking in a general manager's hat, like what am I making easy for myself in the future, I would probably go with Magic, thinking along those lines.
Okay. Vineet, your views are very known in that group, but for our other people who are not fortunate enough to be in that group, I mean, you're of the opinion that having Kareem Abdul-Jabbar definitely helped Magic Johnson be Magic Johnson. But what would have gone through your head if these people were in your pool of talent to be drafted from? What are you thinking? Yeah.
Okay, so I think one of the things that at least my understanding is that in the top 10 players of all time, most of them are like score first options. Like they are just like really good people that can get you a bucket, right? And Magic was not known for getting you a bucket. His role in that Lakers team or even in his college team was more of a facilitator than anything more than that. And that's just my personal opinion, that Kareem helped that from his just scoring perspective to at least hold on to the team for the first 4 or 5 years. I would say 3 to 4 years, let's say, right? Even though he was averaging like 23 or something like that till I think 86 or something like that. Whereas Larry Bird, he's a great scorer. I think he's a great facilitator too, and he gets rebounds. So he just has all three in terms of, I think, eliteness from all the what do you call that? He's kind of like LeBron, Like LeBron is not technically, and this is a discussion we were having, he's not technically a point guard, but he can play point guard at a very, very elite level. And I think Larry Bird was very similar, is that he could play the point guard at a very elite level. So for me, I would pick Larry Bird over Magic. Even though I just checked, I didn't realize that Larry Bird went 6th in his NBA draft, which is pretty incredible. And you know who was first?
He was in the 79 draft? No,
78 draft.
78.
The first pick for the 78 draft was Klay Thompson's father.
What?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
Michael Thompson.
Yes.
Also a really, really, really good player.
Yeah, very good player. I think he ended up playing for the Lakers, right?
He did,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think the Lakers had a much more stacked team. And one of the reasons why they had a stacked team was because in general, I feel like if your number one player is just really that good, everyone else kind of falls in order, right? So if like you have LeBron, then everybody just falls in order. Like there's no who's the best player, whose team it is, none of that bullshit, right?
As we clearly saw with Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and a few others last year.
Yeah,
they left in line.
Yeah, it's just like
they quite literally fell.
Yeah, you know exactly. So I feel like with the Lakers, you knew that Kareem was the best, right? When Magic came in, right? I'm not saying like eventually Magic became Magic, but when Magic came in as a rookie, Kareem was the best. He was the best player in NBA at that point. There was no one better than Kareem, right? And so Kareem was the best player, and Magic was next because he was a rookie, he was great, and the whole team I think was very new at that point. And then you had James Worthy, who was a phenomenal scorer. Then Mr. Thompson came in, and then you had this other guy, what's his name, who came in off the bench. Bob McAdoo came off. Having Bob McAdoo come off the bench is ridiculous, right? So I think there was in my opinion, they just had a much more stacked team. And then obviously Mr. Cooper was also great. And then you had the Celtics. So
I mean, it's not like the Celtics were a bunch of scrubs. Like
they were not a bunch of scrubs, but Larry Bird was the best player, right? From day one. The moment they drafted Larry Bird was the best player in that team. And so you had the East, which was, and so Larry Bird was the best player in that team, which was the best team in the East, right? And Kareem was the best player in that team, which is the best team in the West. So for a guy who just came from college and got into the draft, it's kind of like Timmy, right? When Timmy came in, and he was the best player on the team. There was no in the Spurs team. Even though you had Mr. David, like Timmy was just like this, the best player. There was no second questioning it or anything. And in the second year or third year, I think he won the championship. So same
second year.
Yeah. And so for me, that's the difference, is that the only thing that stops me from picking Magic over Larry is just that Kareem was the best player in the league when when the Lakers started winning, right? So that's the only thing. I mean, obviously Magic, best point guard of all time, without a doubt.
And you watch some of these old YouTube finals and all. It's crazy. Like you hear about it. Like a lot of what I think about Magic and Larry and MJ obviously is based on reading a lot of articles, watching all these highlight plays, watching Stephen A. Smith saying Larry Bird is this, Magic Johnson is this, Michael Jordan is this. It's all. But when you see the game, you almost don't expect it to be so true. But with Magic Johnson, the way he ran the
offense,
the way he just ran, like he got the ball, pang, and he just ran. If somebody dared to come and stop him, he would pass the ball to the person streaking behind.
Yeah.
And otherwise, he'll just go and finish it. And obviously, Kareem was the best for a while. And then when Kareem was like, no, I'm just gonna run one side of the offense and then come back and then I'm gonna chill for a while. Magic started scoring a little bit more, started distributing the ball even more. James Worthy started showing up. For me, just watching him run that way, because that's the kind of basketball that I like, I would pick, Magic Johnson over. Not to say, Larry Bird, even if he had a stacked team, like both of them had stacked team, but that's why Celtics or Lakers are always in every single one of the NBA finals in the 80s, which makes sense. But regardless, the stuff that Magic does, especially the way that he taunts people and then backs it up and all, legendary person. But I would pick Magic Johnson. Plus, having a name like Magic Johnson, who even names someone Magic Johnson? That's not even that's just a straight up unlegal name.
To have a Magic as a name, no?
Magic Johnson. What does that mean?
So one of the things that you remember, we were having a discussion about Dirk and Hakeem. So I went back and I was watching these highlights of Hakeem versus Kareem, and I think
David Robinson.
Kareem. The David Robinson thing, man, was that game. I watched that game. It was.
What do you mean you watched that game?
I mean, I watched the game, the whole game on YouTube. And the highlights they show is so bad for David, because David played a great game the entire game.
Sure.
He stopped Hakeem multiple times. Right, but unfortunately, for the highlight, he gets robbed. He
gets shook. Yeah, but when Kareem played against Hakeem used to play in that power forward position. He had that other 7'6" Ralph Sampson.
Right, but this is the thing, though, right? You hear I think there's a post-game interview where Hakeem says, they ask him how is it to play against Kareem, and it's man, the guy is 40 and we still have to double him. And that's my point. Okay, he was old, but even at 40, you had to double the guy. There was no other way to stop him. So he was a much better player on Magic's team. Magic definitely, I don't think even today there's a guy that can just go from one end to the other, just with that kind of pace, that kind of control over the ball. I haven't seen anybody yet. So in terms of just showmanship and showtime, I still think Magic was way ahead of his time. But I would take Bird any day.
Well, it's okay to have differing opinions.
Differing opinions is what ball is where the what.
Just know that you're wrong, Vineet. Just know that you're wrong. Okay. All right. That's all the questions we have. We do this thing with our guests, though, where we, give them options. So, Vineet, I hope you're ready with the questions. For Kaushik.
Yeah, sure.
Why not? All right. We're going to hit you with some this or that questions, Kaushik. So, let us know this or that.
Let's
All
go.
right. I'll start. I'll start with the thing. Kobe or LeBron?
I like Kobe more. LeBron's a better player.
No, that is
No,
not
no,
the
you
answer
have
to this question.
you have to pick.
Kobe or LeBron to get you a basket against like a very great defender.
Kobe.
Kobe. Okay. All right. Vineet, you're up.
Greatest Laker of all time, Magic or Kobe?
Oh.
Kobe again.
Oh, really? Okay.
Stop making that face. Okay. Yeah, I mean, greatest center of all time for you.
You gotta give options,
among the
my
ones-
friend. That's how
among the
the
ones that I've seen, Shaq.
Greatest centers that you've seen, huh? I mean, you, I think, I think Shaq might be the only great center of since you started watching. So,
Yeah,
I will
I mean,
reclaim that question.
I classify Tim Duncan as a center, so
Oh, okay, all right. Then.
Shots fired! Shots fired, man.
it really annoys me when people say he's the best power forward of all time. No,
What?
he was
He's
a
a
center.
power.
No. Agreed. I agree with Kaushik that Tim is a center. But the reason why they call him a power forward is because in his initial days, he played power forward.
He
with
played
David.
2 years with David
Yeah,
Robinson.
yeah,
or
that's it. That's it. He was
something
playing
like that.
center.
And
Yeah.
that's the only reason.
Yeah.
Don't tell me
I mean,
Thiago Splitter.
Yeah. So that shows his greatness, man.
Oberto
Like,
and stuff
if
like
if
that.
you look at the Spurs highlights, right, and you look at Tim, and then you see the other guy, and you're like, who is this guy? Who is this guy playing center? Well, like, it's just like a bunch of random dudes throughout the 20 years. Like, they just like plugged somebody in.
I remember there was this. I remember a lot of random people playing center while Tim Duncan played power forward. Or
Yeah, it
the
was
other way
a
around.
lot of random dudes. Just lot of random dudes.
Okay. Yes. So the greatest center for you, like since Shaq. Okay. So it didn't matter that Tim Duncan was. Shaq was much more.
No,
powerful.
Shaq better center, easy.
Okay.
Okay. Let me ask you a tough one.
Okay.
Oh,
let's
wow.
go.
A tough one. Knowing your love for Kobe. Let's see. Some Kobe related question would be good. Okay. In 2003 or 2004, right? Whatever. Would you have preferred Kobe to leave or would you have preferred Shaq to leave?
Oh, 100% Shaq to leave. I think
Oh,
Shaq
okay.
was closer to the end of his
Why is
prime.
that a difficult question?
I think Shaq could have won two more championships. You would have plugged Kobe with anybody else.
mean-
in my opinion.
Kobe won 2 more championships.
Yeah, but that was after 5
He
years.
got one more than Shaq.
After 7 years.
Yes,
Sorry.
After 5 years, Shaq would have been fat and out of the league.
No, but I'm saying in 2003 or 2004, right? You know, you had the ability to give a 3-year contract for both of them. That was the thing.
2000. Yeah. So 2004, again, a season that didn't happen the same way that the Jordan Wizards thing didn't happen. It's one of. I'm only saying that because the Lakers ended up choking to the Pistons, and 2005, 2006, those 2 years, Shaq would have been a better guarantee for a title. But
See?
I'm thinking like the next
But
10
he's still-
years. Kobe-
Okay. I'm just talking about that extension, that at that period.
Mhm.
So in that period, would you have picked Kobe or Shaq?
Still Kobe.
Oh my God!
The answer
The
does
love
not
for Kobe is strong.
Okay, last question. Man, you just keep reinforcing this love and you're like, this is a tough question. It's not a tough question at all. Why the hell would he ask Kobe to leave Lakers?
No, because it
Doesn't make any sense.
It's
Shaq
because,
was fat in 2004.
Yeah.
dude,
He got pissed. That's why he got in little better shape. That's why Dwayne Wade helped him win. Like, I don't think like if you gave Shaq more money, then he would have gotten even more egoistic. He would have gotten even more fat. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Shaq, please
agree,
shout us
Ashwin.
out whenever. But like,
I don't think you were even watching basketball at that time, Ashwin.
that's not true. I knew the Pistons had won. It was a night quiz contest. Okay. Final question is, what is the best basketball series? NBA series, not basketball. Say NBA series that you've seen.
For reasons close to the heart, 2010 finals was the Lakers Celtics is probably like one of the best series that I've seen.
7-game series.
But if you remove that bias, maybe Spurs Heat. The
second one?
both
No,
series,
first one.
2013.
Oh,
I like the second one better because I wanted the Spurs to win in both series. So, So definitely the second one had a better outcome. But like that was some phenomenal basketball.
Okay.
But offbeat answer, best game that I've seen, or my favorite game, is 2008 Olympics final between US and Spain.
Between USA and Spain, the redeem team one.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, all right.
Fun fact, Manu Ginobili got Argentina to win against the USA. Hashtag Spurs, man. Come on.
Nah, this is ridiculous. Like, I did not think you'd be able to bring. Okay. All right. We have to end this pod on that great remembering memory of Manu Ginobili. All right, man. Thank you so much, Kaushik,
Thanks a lot, Kaushik.
joining us on this pod. We had an absolute ball. I hope you had some fun as well.
Absolutely. Loved being a part of this. Great job that you guys do on this podcast. Keep it going. And hopefully we'll have plenty more of these chats in the future.
Yes,
Definitely,
don't worry.
definitely. Yeah. We have a running contract with Hoopdarshan. We'll get both their hosts for two episodes each.
Two episodes each.
Two episodes each. We're going to bring you back. Season 4, baby. Okay. Okay, man. Thank you so much. Other fans, subscribers, listeners. I know podcast listens are at an all-time low, but don't let it discourage you. Stay inside your homes and listen to this podcast. Why do you want to go outside? Groceries are overrated anyways. Okay. All right.
Overrated.
Overrated. Chalo, man. Cheers, everyone. Take care. We need to say bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.